Hello, welcome to New Mexico MainStreet's webinar. We're sorry we had some sound issues. Hopefully we're coming in now. Thank you for joining us for the lunchtime session. Today we're presenting Places for People, the Art of Placemaking. And my name is Anna Bly, and I'm the Communications and Media Specialist with New Mexico MainStreet. And today's presenters are William Powell, New Mexico MainStreet Architectural Design Program Associates, and Charlie Deans, New Mexico MainStreet Urban Design Program Associates. I'm going to go over a couple of short housekeeping items for those using the webinar interface. You'll see when you call in, you should have a control panel. Today, all listeners are in audio-only mode. This is to avoid feedback, so hopefully the transition comes in clearer to you. We also have the capability, you can either listen in to us through computer, through audio speakers there, or you can call in using the access code that was sent to you in your registration email. And our presenters today, we have a question and answer session. And we've decided that we will entertain questions throughout the session, so please feel free to type those in. So I'm hoping, again, that our technical difficulties have now been corrected, and hang in there with us, and I will turn it over to our presenters today, William Powell and Charlie Deans.
Hi, everybody. It's William Powell. Hi, and this is Charlie Deans, Urban Design Program Associate. We'll have some fun with this because Will and I are looking at each other, and we have an audience out there of, it looks like, 41 attendees, and we wish we could see you, but I'm sure we'll manage this. What we'd like to begin with is just talking a little bit about placemaking, what it means, and sort of how we do it in New Mexico. And Projects for Public Spaces, which is a great organization that deals exclusively with placemaking nationally and internationally, has a pretty simple definition of where they call it developing a scenario that responds to the unique conditions and needs of the place and its inhabitants. And we've sort of added to that definition, and Will's controlling the button for the next. What else is also important about placemaking is that it has to be that places that we all want to be and with people we care about. And in New Mexico, this is particularly important. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about what placemaking is and how it works. The next slide deals with a really important approach, which PPS has also been really promoting this, although it goes back to 2010 and Eric Reynolds, who did quite a bit of placemaking work. The whole notion about placemaking and the focus on what is called lighter, quicker, cheaper approach. And as Will and I talk later, we'll go into some case studies that we do here in New Mexico that apply these principles. And it's really one of the common things that we do here is these are all going to be community build projects. They're all going to be located in New Mexico, and they're certainly all things that most of our communities have the capacity to do. I will add another point here. We have quite a few attendees here that are outside of our Main Street network in New Mexico, and so just to get everyone's attention, there is a grant application process that just came out. If you were an attendee at the Building Creative Communities grant, you are eligible to apply for a $2,500 placemaking grant, and we'll talk a little bit more about this at the end, but this is really for those of you who are interested in that grant. These are all some of the principles that we're going to be looking for and the things that we've done in New Mexico. Just a couple things about placemaking in general, and some basic principles that we try to apply in all of our projects that we do here. this is probably the most important one, and we're going to revisit this one at the end. It really has to be from the community. The community needs to get together. They need to talk about the project, how it should work, how it's going to happen, what the design is. This is a project that Will and I worked on with Las Cruces Main Street. It's called La Placita. It's actually gotten built, but we did a one-day charrette with the residents to get the ideas what they wanted to see. So it's a really important principle. It's got to, this is an important ingredient for success. The second one is just thinking about it. We're trying to create a place. So we don't want to over-design this place where it doesn't function. And you know, there's different examples around the state. I can tell you one that people have long recognized is the Civic Plaza in downtown Albuquerque, which is now undergoing a transformation thanks to Albuquerque Main Street and projects for public spaces. But it's really having a space that works, functions, and is flexible. And we'll talk more about some of those. And the third one is this notion about streets. Because those are public spaces, streets are some of our best opportunities to make places for people and not just for traffic, particularly in our downtowns and our village centers. We've got our best opportunities to do placemaking work in there. So I'm just going to talk real quickly about Clayton, because when we talk, it's a really funny case study of lighter, quicker, cheaper. And Will and I actually were going to Clayton for a weekend. It was a facade squad there. And New Mexico Main Street and Clayton Main Street had been involved for several years in improving the Luna Theater and the marquee in front of the theater. And you can see that in the top photo. That's the new and improved marquee. Totally, they got some grants and rehabilitated that marquee. And part of the problem is that trucks would hit that, or RVs would hit it, because the marquee extended past the curb. And this is a state highway. Main Street in Clayton is a New Mexico DOT state highway. And DOT's solution to protect the new marquee were those orange barricades. And when Will and I went into town to do this building facade work across the street, it was 3 years later, and we got so upset that DOT still had these orange barricades out there 3 years later, that we did this sort of very spontaneous and very quick, light, and cheap project where we took those barricades down on the weekend and scavenged these materials to build these planters that essentially did the same thing to protect that marquee, but obviously had a little more aesthetic value to the community. And so it was just a spontaneous project, got all the materials donated. So in one day and for $200, we had that result, and that's our guerrilla crew in the background who helped build this thing, because we did not get permission from MDOT to install this thing on the weekend, but it did stay there. They actually had the street improvements done now. So there's a curb extension protecting this, but for the interim, it was a really fun response and sort of spontaneous, and those are usually the best kind.
Those planters, they are livestock troughs, and we just painted them to match the base of the building. Yeah, had them across the street, actually.
And folks donated the plants.
This is Taos Plaza. We were there in 2012, I think it was. Is that right? And this was a placemaking grant that they applied for, and over the course of a weekend, we thought, how can we reutilize this plaza? Because basically the tourists had used it and locals stopped using it. And when we quizzed folks that lived there about how they used to use it, they had all these different things they used to do. They used to play horseshoes. They had this game called Tejas, which is where you throw washers in a little can that was buried beneath the earth. People had a lot of music and they hung out. So we thought, well, why don't we bring back some of those games and see if we can plant some plants, paint some surfaces that had been neglected. We stained the gazebo, worked on some seating areas. Very minimal money, but really just relying on volunteers over the weekend.
And So what you see in that lower shot is actually installing a sand pit horseshoe back, and the locals came out and they played horseshoes. It was pretty fun. So it was achieving some of its purpose of getting the locals to use this space. And it's really important at the end of these weekends when we do these community build projects, there is a party. There's some way to celebrate what happened. And so we had there was a Cuesta band that came down, and we organized this party at the end and had a great turnout from the community.
Yeah, and it's always fun to try and remind locals of how great these public spaces are and get them to reuse them and hope that it catches and they continue to use them after we do the work. This is Grants River Park. We have an amphitheater and actually a river that runs right through it. Large seating area. What we're looking at right now are some public bathrooms and coverings. And the city had decided to demolish the bathrooms. You can see in the lower photo where the blue and red paint is where the bathrooms have been removed. And so now we have this canopy, and we wanted to make it look better. And now there are picnic benches underneath that canopy, and people are utilizing it for events.
What was really significant about Grants is that it was really blighted, and you'll see some more photographs. The Grants River Park was built probably 20 years ago. It was a great project, and it just was underutilized. The city let the maintenance go on it. It wasn't used anymore. And one of the things that we found out was, you know, paint can really, how simple just repainting things can improve the facilities itself. And of course, Will was involved with helping them choose the paint colors through the technical assistance through the MainStreet program. So you'll see some of the transformation that was really simple, but really has made this a much better space.
So here's the actual seating area for the amphitheater, and you can see where the city had made attempts to paint over the graffiti in the upper left photo on the dark gray. And what we find is when you have areas that are graffitied, if you can stay on top of it and paint over them almost immediately after the graffiti is applied, it takes the incentive out of the people to tag the areas. So we gave it a little more color. We added some turquoise, red. The community chose the colors. You can see the planting beds being relined. You can see all the railings were repainted. You know, very minor stuff. And here you can actually see the stage for the amphitheater, and this used to be chipped white paint, and the city spray painted it a nice turquoise. It was nice for the city to help out with the project. And the rendering below, this year, Grants MainStreet had asked if we could help them administer a small grant to do some more improvements. So we talked about, well, what can we do with just a little bit of money for this stage and this amphitheater? Well, we talked about extending the apron of the stage. You can see between the actual photo and the rendering where the stage has been extended, the concrete, and you can see the back walls cladded with some wood to warm it up a little bit. And you know, this band up here, obviously they can't walk out to the end of the stage. They can't really interact with the audience, so we wanted to give them more of an opportunity to do that.
And what's particularly heartwarming about this is that after this weekend project was done, that the city instituted, and working with Grants MainStreet, that they started a Sunday night Music Under the Stars program. So after this space hadn't been used for over 10 years and neglected, it really got the community back and using it, and it's been a successful program the last 2 years.
And the drawing below, notice the presence of just seating areas and plantings and trees. What a difference that can make, and these are all very inexpensive things to do. So with those renderings, the Grants MainStreet had pursued funding, and they actually got the concrete donated by a local concrete company to extend the stage. And you can see the photo here where that has been roughed out. The river had been dredged. They cleaned out the river. This is the concrete drawing. This was about 2 months ago from memory. And this weekend, I was actually there helping them with some volunteers to implement some more of the work. You can see the stage being clad. This was the high school shop teacher and his students working on that. freshening up the paint.
So the last case study was one that Will and I worked on in this past October, where we organized over 2 weekends a community build project to improve this dirt lot that's outlined in the red boundary. So this lot is right in the village center of Cuesta. If you're familiar with Cuesta, it has 2 state highways. They're so fortunate that intersect right there in their village center. And the site itself is something about a ½ acre. It used to be a Gulf gas station. It's been a dirt lot for the last at least 20 years. And it's a community, when Cuesta is a frontier community, and we started working with them on some plans and designs, and they were really anxious to see something done after we did their revitalization plan. So they received some funding from 2 sources. One was the Cuesta Economic Development Fund, a local funder. They got $5,300 to do this placemaking project, and they also received $2,500 for 2 facade improvement projects that have been completed. We're going to talk about the placemaking. This is the site itself, right at the intersection. A couple of views now of the site. This is how it existed in October. Many of you with state highways going through, a lot of this is state highway right-of-way on the edge of this parcel. The visitor center is the building to the right. And you can see some of the concrete from that Gulf station. But it was, you know, not taken care of. This is privately owned. It's the property owner really didn't do anything with the building. This is the back side of it. The lower photo is the alley, pretty much overgrown with weeds. So we came up with the design. You know, we had a charrette with the community. Will and I came up with the design, sort of determined the materials. So here's some under construction, you know, and this is really using $5,300 to buy the materials and getting the community out there. We had 40 to 50 community members on the 2 weekends that we built this project. And I kind of laugh now because although it's using the lighter, quicker, cheaper approach to things, it took 14 tons of rock delivered to the site to fill these gabions with, the basket gabions that we used to cover that old concrete. Built some planters, but we had a great crew. We got the equipment was donated by a local contractor who operated the Bobcat. We can go to the next slide. This is kind of the after views. We also got the high school art students involved. They did the mural on that utility box, as well as this mural that is on that wall that we saw last time, and now the wall's cleaned up. Hauled off all this debris and took the stuff out. And so this is how this was the end of October when the project was finished. The art students helped with the banners and the art. We got a local metal guy to build the metal Cuesta sign there, as well as the banners on the light posts. And the best part about this story, and we can go to the next slide. Well, of course, this is the group at the end of the second weekend. This was the group that was still standing on Sunday night as we wrapped it up with the improvements. And then what happened afterwards is that they actually, next slide, is that they had their Christmas that December, just this past December, they had their Christmas festival right on the site. It actually got used. They had this tent, and they had a great community event on the site, and that's exactly the objective we're trying to get accomplished here with building these things. So this was, you know, $5,300 and a lot of volunteer time and some technical assistance from New Mexico MainStreet in getting it done. But it was a great project, and they're using it.
You know, over the course of 2 weekends, to take a weed overgrown lot that used to be an existing gas station and then be able to do something with it was really great with such a small amount of money.
So I think there's some the message we'd like to leave you with, and just our experience for these things to be successful. You know, again, going back, the community is the expert. It's the locals who really know what is needed, what's going to work, and how it can get done, because you need to engage them early, because they're probably going to be the same ones who are going to build it. New Mexico Main Street can provide the technical assistance in coordinating that and organizing it and doing some of the design work.
We always try and emphasize that communities work with what they have, and also to express what their history is, their local traditions. You know, a lot of our communities are successful, and we like to look at them, but we try not to import those stylistic cues into the respective communities. We try to look inward and find things that are relevant for each community.
And this third one, about whatever gets done, make it work for the locals first, and the residents will come, because sometimes we've seen it the other way around. People try to think, oh, and the tourists will come, sorry. You know, what can we do to bring the tourist in? What kind of hook can we provide? And it's not going to be successful, because the tourists today are really looking for the experience. And it's important that that experience be authentic, and this sort of goes back to that second bullet about authenticity. You know, if it works for the locals, it'll be authentic, and that's what the tourists want to do, and they will come when they do feel it's really a local event as well.
It takes a village. It does take a lot of folks. We've been really creative in finding you know, football teams to help paint. We've used inmates, of course, the non-dangerous ones, to come out and work on things, and they're very happy to donate their time. Local programs, music programs to play music, shop programs to build things, whatever the resources are, and that includes materials too. If you have a stone quarry, or if you have a forest nearby, or if there's a metal worker that you can utilize, all these things are really great, and we've always found them very willing to help and happy to do so.
And the local talent is really important, and the project should be shaped around the local talent you have, whether they're artists or public artists, to incorporate that into the project, or maybe you've got woodworkers like in Cuesta, where the mine had closed, and so we had all this great talent of folks who worked with metals and materials. So it's really looking at what your community can offer and what assets there are used that can be used to bring some skills to this project, and actually building it and making it authentic to the place. The last one is sort of this whole notion. We talked, you know, somewhat about the lighter, quicker, cheaper approach, which is really one of our principles as we approach these sort of placemaking community build projects. You can think of it also the low-hanging fruit, or the best bang for the buck. We've all heard these cliches, but they're all useful in determining what project you think you want to do and what resources you have. But it's really important that whatever happens, it has to be quality, it has to have an impact. It really will show the community pride as the project gets built and everyone has a hand in it. And you know, that may be the segue then into going back to the Building Creative Communities grant announcement, which is due in about a month at the end of May. There's 2 projects, 2 grants for the $2,500. There is a small cash match requirement of about $600, so it'll bring it to $3,100 total. And we hope many of you on here are interested in applying for that, whether your community is a Main Street community or not. As long as you came to the BCC conference, you are eligible for that. So we sort of hope maybe we've inspired you a little bit with this presentation, and look forward to working with you. I have one last slide.
Will can get the mouse to work. There we go.
So we will we'll take questions now. You can type in your questions if you have any questions about what we've done or talking about placemaking, and certainly you can contact Will and I later after this. You can call us or email. We're available to talk about your project. We're available to help you with the grant application if you're interested in pursuing that. Anyway, thanks for your attention. I think we're up to 47 attendees now, which is great.
It's okay. It does look like we have a couple questions coming in, so thanks for typing those in. Let me just get this. So the question is it best to contact us before the end of the year, or should we wait to the next fiscal year for placemaking kind of projects?
I can give you the unofficial. Will and I, we can be contacted anytime. You know, and then it's really depending on the scope of the project and what you're thinking about. You know, we'll have to talk with Rich Williams, the director of the program, and see how it queues up and how much effort. But if it's simple, we can certainly give it some attention now. But I'm speaking for me and a little bit for Will, but I'll let him. You know, we're pretty accessible.
Yeah, same thing. Yeah, if it's a big thing, it may have to wait till July, but you know, just send it in and we'll talk about it.
All right. If there aren't any additional questions, we're thanking you all so much for tuning in today.
One question?
And
wow.
We will also make this recording. Oh, wait a sec. We do have a question.
Can you enlarge that window? Is there a way to? Yeah, I guess not.
Okay. So let's see. If you're a current Main Street project in the works, does this project need to also be on this side? This person noted that they have several projects that need assistance and help in the community.
Well, every community is allowed 2 service requests in each point per year. So, and there's always exceptions if it's something that's really important. So I hope that answers the question, but usually 2 a year per point. And you know, we bend the rules a little bit, so unofficially I said that.
Yeah, right. Rich isn't in the room, but he's probably listening.
Yeah, he's probably. we always want to help as much as we can.
All right, and I think importantly, as both Will and Charlie stated, there is that kind of placemaking grant opportunity for those that attended the BCC conference, and that is more timely in terms of there is a deadline. So I would encourage you all to contact them as soon as possible if you wanted to talk about a project you might want to apply for.
The deadline's May 31st.
Yeah, and that money is seed money, so that is used to purchase materials to implement the project, and then Charlie and I, one of us or both of us, will help you with the project if you were awarded the grant.
Okay, so these have been some great questions. And again, I think as has previously been stated, you can contact New Mexico Main Street at any time to talk about projects. If you kind of come away from the webinar and realize you didn't ask something, again, if it's still kind of percolating and you're thinking about something, please reach out because we'd love to hear from you, and we just appreciate your participating today.
So Anna, this is going to be available on the website and as a YouTube?
Yes.
Okay.
So New Mexico Main Street, we do have a link to the YouTube channel. That's our New Mexico Main Street YouTube channel. And this presentation today will be a featured presentation on the site.
Do we have any upcoming webinars? That's the question that I see. Anna, do we have any?
We do. So in May, we have a webinar associated with economic vitality related to New Mexico Main Street's 4-point approach. If you're interested, because I imagine some people who were invited to this session are new lists to us from the Building Creative Communities conference, certainly I could include you in invitations to the New Mexico Main Street webinars in the future. They are public. Again, this one was probably more specific subject-wise to all participants of that conference that we held in November. But again, I'm happy to put you on a list to hear about New Mexico Main Street webinars.
There's one more question at the very end.
Sure.
Yeah. It looked as though if a community was awarded one of the grants, would count for one of their service requests that they are allotted for the year. I don't think so.
No, it's independent.
Yeah, I think it's that. see if you have anything else. Nope, that's the last one.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for tuning in today. We really appreciate it and hope you enjoyed it. And please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.